The Connor Lewis podcast is brought to you by Floatwear. If you're a volleyball player like me, you're probably looking for some new gear all the time, so why not try Floatwear? They have a wide selection of great volleyball gear, especially shorts. Their shorts are fantastic. So whether you're looking for indoor gear or anxiously waiting for the summer to get in your beach reps, why not try Floatwear and use promo code FloatLewis2 at checkout for 10% off your order of Floatwear volleyball drip. Now, welcome to the Connor Lewis podcast. This is not going to change at all how we run the podcast around here. A few small tweaks. Again, the title is the biggest change so far, so don't skip ahead. I have some little housekeeping notes. First, right after the intro, we're going to talk to Carter, who's back. We're talking about the NBA trade deadline just before the Super Bowl happens. A lot of Super Bowl coverage happening all over the place, so I'm thinking let's do some NBA. Let's switch it up a little bit. Then after that, stay tuned. I'm going to do a travelogue. First time doing that. I recently returned from California and now going to discuss my experience there. It's about half an hour, so definitely enjoyed that. There's a lot of really cool stories in there, and I share some really fun stuff I got to do in LA and Malibu. But yeah, I appreciate you all sticking with it. We're trying to do a podcast a week now, so we're going to implement like these talking head videos where it's just me talking right to you. Beyond that, just going to do some interviews. I have some interviews lined up. We're going to be collaborating with some other podcasts in the near future. We already have kind of in the past, but definitely go check out some of the previous podcasts after this. And yeah, let's jump right into the intro. All right, we're back with Carter Jones. We're talking about the NBA trade deadline today. A couple days ago now from when this is coming out, the trade deadline has ended. Some major trades have gone down in the NBA that will really shake up the league. Nothing like what we were expecting. Carter, I want to start with this. Why no Giannis trade? Why do you think that Giannis did not get traded from the Milwaukee Bucks this past week?
Honestly, I think it is just like the Bucks organization is just too stubborn right now with what they want. And obviously, Giannis is a really good player, and you should be able to get a lot for a trade with him. But it gets to a point where you need to just be like best offer right now, and then move on from that because the offers are probably just going to get worse and worse as the years go on with him, and he just really doesn't want to be there. So I mean, that's really all it is.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I worry because I believe he's expiring next season. So I believe that if once we get into the offseason, if he gets traded in like June, his value is going to be lower. I don't think it's the worry that he's going to be older. I think that he's one of those players where it doesn't really matter how old he is, you can still get a lot for him because I think there's teams that are willing to pay. Like I thought the Warriors would be the team that would take a swing at it. I know in our outline I named a few teams, Cleveland being one of them, and then the Harden thing went down, and I did not see that coming, honestly, with the Harden thing, and then there were still rumblings of a LeBron possible move. I heard Cleveland is trying to recruit LeBron this offseason, probably going to trade Mobley or Allen, some combination of that. But I think it's a bad move for Giannis. I mean, if we think about it, we take a step back outside of just our usual NBA, and we talk about Giannis as a superstar. He's kind of hurting his own legacy in a way. The fact that he is choosing to stay for a team that's not like going out of their way to build this roster up around him. And it feels like I understand he loves it in Milwaukee. From what I understand, he lives right next to his mother in Milwaukee. He has to play with his brothers. I understand all that, but as far as a legacy goes, there will be a time where Giannis will no longer be in the league. And like 5 years from now, he'll be probably regretting what happened here. And it reminds me a lot of Kevin Garnett and when he kind of stayed a little too long with Minnesota. And eventually he goes to Boston in 2007. I think he gets traded. But I don't know. Are there any other stars you can think of that stayed maybe too long with their team, just off the top of your head? I know I'm throwing this right at you, but
To be honest, no. But like currently, like right now, the fact that John Morant still hasn't been traded yet, like that's another thing that we'll talk about and touch on later. But that's like another one that is kind of just like iffy. I think Maybe Devin Booker is also kind of overstayed his welcome if he wants to really go for like a ring. I mean, obviously the Suns look pretty good right now, but he's just another guy that I feel like stayed too long. Damian Lillard, I think he could have requested a trade and went to a contender earlier on in his career as well. But between like a couple guys like that, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Let's get into the trades. I'm actually going to start with the Celtics one because I think that's more interesting for you to talk about because I want to ask you about it. All right. Boston Celtics receive Nikola Vucevic, who's on an expiring contract. The Bulls receive Anthony Simons, who's also expiring, and a second-round pick. Originally, this trade was a first-round pick instead of a second-round pick, but the Bulls said no to that. They did not, or the Celtics said no to that. Carter, explain to me why the Celtics made this trade.
I believe the Celtics made this trade because they think they're contenders this year, and they think that with or without Tatum, they want to make a real push in the playoffs. Hopefully, with Tatum, obviously. But one of their things that they've been lacking is just like a good rim protector that can play well in the playoffs. And a lot of people think that Kata and Luka Garza are good centers, and I agree. But playoff basketball is a lot different. Having like a cornerstone big guy down low that can give you a nice double-double every single night and contribute well on both sides of the ball is very necessary. I think that's what Vucevic is going to do for them.
I agree. I also think it has to do with that luxury in the second apron.
Yes.
They cut, I believe, like $6 million. I think they were still looking to like chop $6 million more off, but I don't know if they ever got to that point. Either way, I think you're right. Kata, I actually like him a lot. I've seen a few Celtics games this year, and I'm like, this guy can play. But when it comes playoff time, I think you hit it on the nose there. Experience is everything in the playoffs. It totally depends on if Tatum's back, which, as far as I'm aware, he will be back for the playoffs. After every report I'm hearing that he's working out already and all that. But I don't know. There's some of the Boston's depth worries me a little bit, and I don't really know what they do from here because they're so tight in their own cap space that they can't really. I know the deadline's over, but their depth only goes so far. And Anthony Simons was looking like he could be sixth man of the year, at least a candidate. And now it's like, I don't know. I mean, the Bulls media is very different from Celtics media. I think people are more willing to give a Celtics player that award than a Bulls player. But I don't know if I totally. I think they wanted to fill the Al Horford role. And I want to ask you this. What does Vucevic's role on the Celtics look like overall going for the rest of these next 3 or 4 months?
I'd say, like, especially for the Celtics right now, what they have, just like a solid rim protector. But the Celtics, they have been known for shooting a lot of threes under Joe Mazzulla. So for stretching the floor is another thing that he can do. Just kind of like sitting in the corner for certain possessions. But just like stuff like that, simple like good role player things. Like he's not gonna light the world on fire scoring 30 in the playoffs probably. But just like a nice double-double every night and just adding good protection on both sides of the ball. So
Yeah. Now I'm just curious about what the Bulls are going to do because their offseason is very interesting. They have now 3 major expirants because they traded Mike Conley in kind of like a nothing trade, or they moved on from Mike Conley. Zach Collins is expiring $18 million. Kobe White, $13 million. They'll probably bring him back, but still, it's notable. And Simons, $27 million. So those 3 are expiring this offseason. You still have Giddey and you have Matas Bazulis, who are very good. I watched the Celtics Bulls game where I think the Bulls ended up winning that one, and really good stuff. Bazulis looks really good. Again, there's a lot of open space with this team, but as I outlined in our document, it's very guard heavy, this team, and that's what's concerning. Is Bazulis is a wing, so that's fine, but you have Simons, Giddey, Desumnu, who was traded for Rob Dillingham, Trey Jones, and Kobe White, and then eventually we're going to cover the next trade. A lot of guard play here. What do you think the Bulls are trying to do here?
I mean, I don't know. Like I was talking earlier before the deadline happened, and like it was like 2 hours before, but as most people know, like the trade deadline really ramps up, especially at the end of it. I was assuming that they would ship away more of those guys than they did for like some good wing play or center play, but they really didn't. I mean, they traded away Kobe White, which is the guy that I didn't think they really should. because I think he's one of their better guards, and I think they could have gotten more than what they did. But I think at this point they're kind of stuck with them. I mean, in their first game though, Simons played really well, along with Jaden Ivey and a bunch of those other like new guys that they have. They're playing good, but it's just like how can you play with all those players? Like I just don't understand it. But I don't really understand what their move and motive was to get all these guards. I think they kind of just like got in a hole and kind of realized it after, because I don't see a way that you would make these trades and be like, yes, I want to have like 17 guards on my roster. Because like I don't know. I mean, none of these guys can play more than the two. They can't play the three. Definitely like anything besides that. So
I agree. The Ivy thing, obviously, we'll get to that because that's another like a separate thing. But like again, I'm confused on as to what they're doing too. It feels like they're making a lot of lateral moves. Like the Kobe White thing didn't make a lot of sense to me. They picked up Mac McClung, which he played a little bit in that Raptors game. Again, like I don't know if that like what's the point of that if you're picking up with 3 months to go in the season. I don't
yeah,
know. Like I don't.
understand.
I don't know like what the idea is really. My concern is like the good news is that they're no longer just going to be the playing demons that they're known to be. Well, they in the play the playing for like the last 3 or 4 years, like that
Yes.
ever since the playing existed. I think they've been in every year. I think right now they're 11th. If I pull up the standings, yeah, they're 11th right now. They're tied with the Hornets, but the Hornets have the tiebreaker. So if they're just going to tank the rest of the season, I think that might be the move. I'm not as familiar in the draft class as maybe you are. I would say you probably know more about these top 4 guys that are all looking pretty damn good. It's a very, very weird set of moves. And again, there's some more bull stuff later. But I do want to talk about the Clippers Cavaliers one, which was the first big trade to go down, I think, the last week.
Yes.
Clippers received Darius Garland, who has 3 years left on his contract, but he's currently injured, and they also received a 2026 second-round pick. Cleveland receives James Harden, who's on an expiring deal. Carter, I want to ask you, does this trade make sense for either team and why?
Honestly, I think the Clippers, it does make sense, but for the Cavs, I can only say maybe. I mean, the only way it really makes sense is if they like make a real push to the playoffs here. And the first thing they have to do to make a real push is to be healthy. A lot of guys in the past, like Darius Garland, who just got chipped away, but like he's been injured a bunch. Evan Mobley, being healthy is the most important thing in the playoffs. And if they are, I think they can really make some moves there. Like James Harden, known for being iffy in the playoffs. Sometimes he rises, sometimes he falls. But if he rises in the playoffs, I really think this is a good overall move for them. And then for the Clippers on the other side, I think it does make sense. They got a lot of slack heading into the season for having such an old roster, and they decide to basically just swap players and go younger here with a 10-year age gap. And Darius Garland is a good player. He's still relatively young at 26, but he needs to get healthy and play some good basketball. But I really do think he can be a good piece for them.
And the Clippers, they make another trade we'll talk about later that was probably one of the most recent ones. But as far as the Harden thing goes, my question about it is like, will this get them over the hump? Like, we know Harden, we know his track record in the playoffs. We know it's very hot and cold. Like there are times where he's looked pretty good, and then some of the coldest cold you can ever get for a superstar. As far as my problem with this move for Cleveland, and I think this is what everyone's kind of looking over, is that Harden does not fit this team's timeline. Your 3 other best guys that aren't Harden, Mobley, Mitchell, and Allen, are all under 30. Harden is, 37? He might retire
36.
36? Okay, he might retire in 3 years, though. Yeah. Obviously the production's there right now, but how do we know it's going to continue? It's not like a Steph Curry or LeBron situation where they just seem like ageless wonders.
Mm-hmm.
But Harden has not been consistently great every single year. The Philly stuff was kind of rough. There were some moments where it felt like he was done. He looks good now, but how does he work with Mitchell? Are they going to get along? Again, Mitchell's a lot younger than Harden. Like, this is not like a thing where it's a bunch of older guys like the 08 Celtics to bring them up again. It's not one of those situations where it's a bunch of guys who are around the same age getting together and making a push. Harden is a lot older than these guys. He does have more experience, but also he has a lot more losing experience than these guys.
Yes.
I'm not discounting that. I'm not going to say that Cleveland can't compete because I think we talk about it all the time, but the East is still open. Like I'm looking at the standings in front of me. The top 8 seeds are in order from 1 to 8: Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland, Toronto, Philadelphia, Orlando, Miami. Can half those teams even make the conference finals? Realistically, I'd say no. I don't think Philly, Orlando, Miami, or Toronto can make it. I think it's really the top 4. I don't see any of those teams making a conference finals push. And even so, like I'm not even totally sold on Cleveland yet. After last year when they had like an insane record and everyone was ready to hail them, and then we saw what happened. You know, does this really make that much of a difference? It remains to be seen. And again, I want to ask you, Jar, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really think it makes that much of a difference, to be honest. I mean, I get it. You're getting probably a better guy right now. Like James Harden's definitely playing a good year this year. But in my books, I'm always a guy that likes to go for the younger players in the NBA when I'm making these trades. If I'm like a GM or something like that, I would never want to make a 10-year swap to a guy, especially like it shrinks the window of when they really can compete. Like, when you have Darius Garland, you have I give like a 4 or 5 year window with this current roster where you can really make like the conference finals and maybe the finals and win it. But with James Harden, you get like this year, next year, and I don't give you that third year after that. I feel like now it was really a nothing move for them at this point.
Yeah, and the other part of that is it reminds me a lot of a trade that in 10 years we're going to look back on and we're going to say, wow, Clippers really won that one. Like, I could see a world where Darius Garland just takes off. He's not playing with another star, really. Like, Kawhi's there, but how long is Kawhi going to – how long is it going to be until Kawhi gets moved? That's a different conversation. But this could be like a Steve Nash on the Suns thing where it's like it just kind of works and Garland fits into the system and just plays really well. Or it could be like a Shai Gilgeous for Paul George thing. Not to the same degree, but in the sense that the younger guy ends up just becoming the better player and the older star that gets traded for falls off drastically. I'm not saying that's exactly what's going to happen, but I could envision a world where that happens. But the last part before we move on, how long does it take for Kawhi to get traded? And if you think he will, when?
I think if any time it's this offseason, because I don't necessarily know how old Kawhi is exactly, but he's definitely up there, and
He's 34.
He's not 34. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, it's not as bad as Harden. Same with him. His window of playing the way he is right now is not going to be, forever. I truly think that he will be moved this offseason. And if he's not, I envision him staying in LA for the rest of his career, to be honest.
Yeah. Just to be clear, his contract expires next offseason, so he'll be on an expiring contract this offseason. $50 million for the 27 season. Again, 34 years old. By the time the offseason comes, he'll be 35. Again, expiring deal. There were a lot of rumblings about Detroit. If they want to make a push, they'd trade for Kawhi. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I heard some things from some pretty reputable sources that said so. That could still happen this offseason. I don't know what they'd move. I haven't looked at the package at all. I'm not even really sure what Detroit could give the Clippers that would be that valuable as to keeping Kawhi, and just, I don't know, writing that out. But I don't know. The Clippers thing is a wash. I mean, the Clippers aren't going to be competing really. The Cavs, I'm willing to accept it if they're good, but it remains to be seen. Until I can watch a Harden Mitchell backcourt, I'm not sold on this roster yet. All right. Next trade. Bulls receive Mike Conley and Jaden Ivey, which we talked about. Pistons receive Kevin Huerter, Dario Saric, and a pick swap with Minnesota, and Minnesota receives cash. We talked about the guard stuff already with the Bulls, so we won't talk about that. Thoughts on Jaden Ivey as a player? Like, where do you stand on him? Because I feel like he wasn't getting a lot of reps, and I don't know if that's him or if that's Detroit or what.
I really think that was more of Detroit as a whole. They have a very good, sound roster. and his position is kind of like a black hole, like where he was before. With Cade Cunningham, Ron Holland, a bunch of guys like that. But I really do believe in Jaden Ivey to be good, and I think that he's gonna, turn his career around a little bit. And if he stays healthy, especially with this current Bulls roster, that's really not gonna make any crazy push. He's just gonna just go ball out there and hopefully rise his stock and maybe get traded to a contender or help the Bulls make it back to the playoffs, not to play in next year. So
I think that's all you can hope for. It's going to be a weird fit with like Giddey and how that works because Ivy did get the start in the previous game. This season with Detroit, he was averaging 8 points per game, 2 rebounds, 1.6 assists per game. Only started 2 games, played 33, 17 minutes a game. Last night he played really well, actually, or the previous game, 2 nights ago. Sorry. 13, 4, and 6 with 3 steals. 3 of 5 from 3. That's good. Like that. It's one game, so in a vacuum, whatever. But just by the looks of it, it doesn't look too bad. My question more about this trade is, what does it do for Detroit? Like, is Kevin Huerter really the move? Is he going to thread the needle, so to speak, for the Pistons? I mean, the Cavs are making that James Harden trade, and all the Pistons can muster up is a Kevin Huerter trade. It makes me wonder a little bit about what their angle is. My question to you is, can Kevin Huerter thread the needle on Detroit's playoff push?
honestly, I don't think he's gonna make that much of an impact for them. Um, from my knowledge, I think they already have like a guy like Duncan Robinson on their team still, and those two players are very similar to me. They kind of just are catch and shoot 3-point shooters. They're not going to add too much besides that. Um, but I mean, I don't really know for sure. I mean, I think that he can go in there and give some good minutes, but he's not going to be like a guy for them that's going to make a huge impact. Like he hasn't been shooting the ball tremendously this year compared to past. I don't know his current like numbers or anything like that, but I don't envision him being crazy for them.
Huerter's current stats: 11 points a game, 4 rebounds, 45, 31, 73 split. So the 3-pointer's down a little bit. That's definitely a concerning thing. Not really what you want if you're like a 3-point specialist, is to shoot 31% from 3 on pretty high volume. I don't know how much this does for Detroit. I'm still a little confused. I feel like they could have got more for Ivy. And again, I think this is a thing where we're going to look back. I don't know if Ivy will become a superstar. I certainly hope so, because I do like watching him. I went to a Detroit Celtics game, and I was very impressed by him when he did get to play. His just agility and his athleticism. Anyway, he's a very talented player, and I feel like they could have just got more. Not to say Herter's bad. I think he's in a bit of a slump right now, and I think if he gets past that, it can be good for Detroit to have another shooter. Space in the court like that is key. There's not a lot to say with this. I just want to move on to trade 4, because I think it's probably the third biggest trade that happened in the past week. That is the Jazz and the Grizzlies trade. The Utah Jazz received Jaren Jackson Jr., who expires in 2028 or 2030 actually. John Concar, Jock Landale, and Vince Williams Jr., who's on a team option. Lando is on expiring. And then the Grizzlies receive our guy, Walter Clayton Jr., who's on his rookie deal. Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, Georges Niang, 3 first-round picks. 2027 LA, 2027 Utah swap, and then a 2031 Phoenix pick, which could be pretty big, actually. Okay, so Grizzlies, full rebuild. 7 first-round picks between the Bane and the Triple J trade. I was not traded. Where do you think Memphis goes with Ja for the rest of the season, the remaining 2 or 3 months?
I mean, I don't know. They had that little series, I believe they're playing in. It was over in England. It was overseas, and he didn't play that first game. He played the second game, minutes restricted. He played really good. His numbers were good. Way he was shooting the ball and stuff. So I think he could go out there and just. I don't know how many games he will play. He definitely won't play the remainder of the season. There's no way that'll happen. But I'd be surprised if he really sat out the whole rest of the year. I think he'd have to get out there and play at least like half of the rest of the games. But it's not in his mindset, I don't think, to stay here, especially after what's going on. He doesn't want to be a part of a rebuilding team in this part of his career at his age. So
I think that's a good way to put it. To be clear, he's only played 20 games so far. Memphis is 20-30 right now, 11th in the West, and they lost pretty nastily to Portland. A really weird Memphis team. I'm just looking at their team right now and who they have remaining. Zach Edey, injured right now, but still, when he does play, looks pretty good. They have some guys. Again, Walter Clayton. That's our guy. Like we've been building him up since last year, almost a year ago. By the way, we've been talking about him for a while. They have a lot of good, interesting young guys that I like a lot. But I think you're right. Like I think they're going to continue to play Ja if he's healthy. You're just trying to get his trade value up, right? Like I don't think either team wants a part of each other. If I had to guess, I don't think Memphis wants Ja as much as Ja wants Memphis. Where does he go? Like, I don't even know what team would want him. I know there was talk about Miami. I don't even know how that fits. Like I'm not 100% sure what Miami can do. Can they can't compete with just Ja and Bam Adebayo because I don't I don't know where they go from there. To talk about the Grizzlies for a second and what their future looks like, because again, this Ja thing will pass. Like this we'll be in the offseason, it'll be June or July, and we'll get the notification on our phone that Ja has gotten traded. We'll probably think he didn't get traded for enough, but in this moment, we know his value is very low. My question to you is, who do the Memphis Grizzlies build around at this point?
I think they really have to hope to get, in my eyes, with this next coming draft class, if you get lucky to get a top 10 pick, you're going to get a good guy. There's a lot of good players coming up. But on this current roster, I mean, I guess you get that guy, Walter Clayton, like our guy, and I think he's going to be a very good, solid NBA player. I don't know if he ever gets like an all-star level guy, but he's going to be a good player, and he's a good guy to look around right now. A younger Gigi Jackson, still have him. I guess you still have Santi Aldama, but like those aren't like that can't be your guy. You need to. I don't even know at this point with them. Like I don't see anybody right now that's gonna go out there and really score the ball well. I mean, Jalen Wells is still a very good player on their team. Could have been Rookie of the Year last year, but I don't really know.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of confused on what they're doing. The last big moment, and I think when we thought that we thought this team could be something serious when they had Bane and Jackson and Morant and Brooks, is that Warriors series where it looked like this team was going to be something serious, and that was I think 3 or 4 years ago now, but people still talk about it as if it just happened. So I think, and someone made this point to me, and I want to ask it onto you: was losing Dillon Brooks actually a mistake for Memphis, or do you think this is going to end up being better than what they could have done with that original core?
I think Dillon Brooks definitely like him solely has kind of proved to be like a really good guy. Do I think that he could be playing the way he is right now on the Suns if he stayed in the Grizzlies? No. But I think moving off of that like core group was in the end good. I never saw that group making it to the championship. I don't think that you can go there with John Morant as your number one. I mean, he was playing very good back then, but I don't envision him being enough. And I didn't then, and I definitely don't now. But I wouldn't say that Brooks was the problem there. But I also wouldn't say that he was the solution as well. So I think it was kind of just like out of all those guys they got off of, he wasn't like a guy that kind of is like it really sucks to lose him.
Well said. I think that's a really good way to put it. I will talk about the Jazz in a second, but as you were talking, something popped in my mind that guys like Ja and guys like Westbrook, who are super athletic guards that seemingly have all the talent in the world, but for whatever reason just can't get it done. And I don't know what it is about guards like that. Again, Derrick Rose is an example, but again, different circumstances. He had their ACL tear that derailed everything. De'Aaron Fox is another guy that is so talented, but just could never get it done as the number one. For some reason, whatever it is about these hyper athletic, undersized guards, they just seemingly never totally pan out to the way that I think teams hope they will. Not to say like a guy like Westbrook wasn't like one of the best 50 players we've ever had in the NBA in its history, but Like, for some reason, when playoff time comes, those guys just don't work. Now, I do want to talk about the Jazz because they have a very unique lineup going on. And if you told me this was their lineup like a year ago, I wouldn't know what to say. Keontae George, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Yusuf Nurkic. It will be Walker Kessler next year. Kessler's out for the rest of the season. Does this Utah Jazz lineup work?
I would say yes. I think that Keontae George, in my eyes, is a very good player. I think he's going to add a lot to their team, and he has already this year. I think he's played outstanding, and I didn't think a lot of people really believed in him to be like a very good guy for them, but I think he has been this year. And I think he will keep doing that. A very good problem for them, which we'll talk about, especially in a second, is their defense. And I think that having Kessler and Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be a big help for them, because Jaren Jackson Jr. being like as big as he is, also is known for not being the most outstanding rebounder. But then getting paired up with a guy like Walker Kessler down low and forcing him to play the 4 instead of the 5, Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be a good thing for him. I think that this roster especially is going to be very good. And I think they have some sneaky pieces off the bench. It really sucks to lose a guy like Walter Clayton Jr. and he'd be like one of your like spark plugs. But I think overall this roster is going to be good, especially that starting.
I mean, I think there's a lot of the defense is still the biggest question to me. This offense they might average 130 points a game, but they will allow 140. Like that's a realistic scenario for this team. Again, they have the worst defense in the league as of right now, as far as points per game go, or just defensive rating. I don't know how much Jaren Jackson fixes that. Again, there was a time where we believed he was the best defensive player in the league. Like there was a time where that was generally agreed upon that he was, if not the best, then he was in the top 5. Does Jaren Jackson Jr. fix the Grizzlies defense, or is he just one guy who can't totally get this done?
I think honestly, like he's going to be a very good player, but and if you're going to get one position to kind of make that change, it's a big guy, but you need some defensive guards in your team that are going to help out. And I don't see any guy that's like outstanding on defense for the Jazz right now. That's not a big between Kessler and Jaren Jackson Jr. But it's not very hard to find a good wing or guard in the NBA right now, like free agency wise or trading going into next year, that you can get for not much of a value. And I think they have a lot of pieces now that they can kind of shift around to get that defensive spark plug. But right now they have nothing besides Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's gonna be weird to see. I mean, this year's kind of a wash with no Kessler. I don't even know what the point of trying to compete is really. I mean, you can try, but I mean, I think it's better just let guys like Ace and George develop and just see what you have next year. All right, we're about halfway through now. This is the trade that shocked me the most. I heard literally nothing about this. And it is the Anthony Davis trade. The Mavericks received Chris Middleton expiring, AJ Johnson rookie deal, Malachi Branham expiring, Marvin Bagley III expiring, 2 first-round picks and 3 seconds. Washington receives Anthony Davis, who expires in 28, D'Angelo Russell, player option, Jaden Hardy, team option in 2027, and then Dante Exum expiring contract. Again, this trade surprised me the most. I remember I found out at work about it, and I could not believe it. I got like 100 text messages about it. Kind of similar to Luka trade. Whenever like a big Dallas trade goes down or Dallas move, everyone just texts me because they know that I'm probably reacting obnoxiously or sadistically to it. No, but this trade, I didn't even know how to react to it because I really had to think about what this meant for Dallas. What I can tell you is that I think we knew since Nico Harrison was fired or let go, whatever, that Anthony Davis was going to have to go. Like I think we all kind of knew that this wasn't going to work out. He's too injury prone. It's like he's like getting a BMW with 200,000 miles on it. Like it looks great on the outside, and you're like, "Wow, this is awesome." And then you try to go for a drive with it, and then it just breaks down like immediately. It's the best example I can give you. I love Anthony Davis. If this was 5 years ago, I'd be more than happy to have him on my team. I think he's one of the most talented big men we've ever seen in the NBA. but right now he's not a player I'd want on my team. And I think Washington is it's I think they're being ignorant to assume that he's going to be fully healthy with Trae Young come next season. The D'Angelo Russell thing, I'm happy he's gone. He wasn't like a really an impact player. People called him like the most Washington player to never play for Washington until now. Jaden Hardy and Dante Exum, I actually really like both of them, especially Hardy. I think he was so talented, and I love when we drafted him. I thought that was an awesome move. I want to ask you this: from this point, come the offseason, should Dallas move on from Kyrie Irving?
I think personally, yes. At this point, completely blow it up, build around a flag. And, coming off the injury, I feel like you can still get some good value for a guy like Kyrie Irving. And obviously, he's a good veteran guy to have. But at this point, you really want to kind of just blow it up. You want to get young. And if you want to get old with guys, you want to have guys with lesser contracts. Kyrie probably isn't getting the max right now, but he's definitely not getting anything cheap. You might want to clear up some room to get another guy you can pair a flag with that can really progress with him and not already be like at their peak or declining like Kyrie is. But yeah, that's what I would do.
Kyrie is making 36 million this year, 39 next year, and then has a player option in which he'll make 42.4 million. So a lot of money. The good news is that a guy like James Harden can still get you Darius Garland. And if we got Darius Garland for Kyrie Irving, I would be over the moon. I would love that move.
Mm.
I'd be very happy with that, actually. I don't know what Irving's trade value is like because I haven't heard anything about a Kyrie trade. I don't want to come on here and say that he's going to get traded because I actually think he's awesome, but I don't know if he fits the timeline. To talk about that again, we live in a time where you need to have players that are all kind of the same age. Like you can't just pull guys from all different ages and expect them to work together. It's not only like a timeline thing, but it's also just like a culture thing. Players that are 25 have a very different mentality than guys that are 35. That's not like breaking news, but it's something that should be said because like I don't know how far Cooper Flag and Kyrie can go together because they're so different. Like how old was Cooper Flag in 2011 when Kyrie was drafted? He's my age, so he was probably 5 or 6 years old. Like that just shows you it's a totally different time. Like we live in a very different time now, and Cooper was just drafted this year, so that shows that, and they're drafted at the same age. That shows there's a culture difference there, and I think if Dallas wants to get young, this is a good way to do it. The Chris Middleton thing, kind of just nothing. He's expiring. I don't think we're going to bring him back unless he wants to take a very, very big pay cut. I actually don't mind AJ Johnson. I'm interested to see what he can do. Bagley and Branham expiring. The first round picks are the most interesting part to me, and what we can do with them in the draft or in trades or whatever. And at the end of the day, people were like, "Don't you feel like you got robbed?" And I honestly I don't. I think it's hard to move on from Anthony Davis, and I'm a little surprised we got this much for him. Like everyone knows I hated the Luka trade. It still doesn't make any sense except with NBA tampering. This is fine. Like if this is the move that we're gonna have to do, I'm fine with it. We just have to kind of move on, cut our losses, and just play. The more I think I don't know if it's more interesting, but it's just an interesting point. Is what is Washington going to do from here? Right now, the Wizards are 13-36. That might be a little different now. That record may be slightly different, but they're 14th in the East, 27th offensive rating, 29th defensive rating. You got guys like Sarr, Bob Carrington, Trey Johnson, very talented young guys. And then you add Trae Young, who's not old, but he's not as young as those guys. And then you add Anthony Davis, who was drafted in 2012. What is Washington's game plan with this team?
I think that Washington can be pretty good. And I think that they have some good guys right now. I think Trae Young's going to really help them out. I don't think Anthony Davis is going to add too much, especially, you know, with him being made of glass. But I mean, to be honest, I think that they're going to be a pretty good team, and I don't see the East getting a lot more competitive next year. You're going to have guys coming back like Halliburton, Tatum. So, I mean, but the Celtics are already good as they are right now. I mean, the Pacers will get more in the mix, but I don't really see many other teams being as talented as this roster is, especially with like how collectively, majority of this group is so young and they're going to progress as a whole together. And hopefully, that the core 5 guys they have right now, maybe 6, are going to stay together and progress and just start to compete as of next year.
I don't disagree. I think this is a very short timeline. I feel like these are the Trae Young and the Davis move together are both very short sighted. The Trae Young thing in a vacuum makes sense. Like it's like, okay, you add a talented point guard who can distribute with a bunch of pretty talented players, especially Alex Sarr, who I think is awesome. But then you add Davis to this, and it feels like you're trying to speed up a process that could end up being good in a couple of years. Like this team could end up being good. Take Davis out of the equation for a second, and just look at those 4 guys that I mentioned. In 3 years, this team could be like a 3 seed, realistically. Like if you let these guys develop and you let it build out and you maybe get a new coach or something like that, this team could be very competitive. And then you add Davis, and I'm not sure what the lifespan on this core is anymore, because then someone's going to become the scapegoat, whether it's Davis or Young or somebody else, and then it can kind of just blow up from there. Like we've seen this story before. We've seen this tale where an older veteran gets added to a young team and it just doesn't go that well. Not just basketball, but football and whatever. It's a little concerning. Giving up 2 first-round picks seems like a lot, and 3 seconds. Like the seconds kind of can be nothing, but 2 firsts could end up being something, and that's great for me. Great for me as a Dallas fan. But if I'm watching, I'm not 100% sure what we're getting at. Any other thoughts on this trade? It's kind of like one of those you got to wait and see what happens, but.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about the first round picks right there, and I agree. I really like picks. I think picks are, you know, the piece that everybody should have as an NBA team. The Suns had a really rough period where they didn't have any picks at all. And I think, it can allow you to make moves, get other guys, and tons of other things. I think picks are very important. And I think getting more picks, especially and getting off a guy like Anthony Davis, is gold to me. So
Yeah, and draft picks also let you be flexible. If you have a big contract like a Chris Middleton that you're looking to get off of, you can use the first round pick as leverage in order to get off that contract. Like, there's a lot of things you can do with draft picks that make the NBA so interesting that like other sports you don't really see. You don't see like people using draft picks in the NFL or MLB really in order to get off contracts as much as you do the NBA. Speaking of draft picks, we're going to talk about the Thunder right now because this is probably the second most surprising trade that I saw. It was Jared McCain to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a 76ers send a first-round pick from Houston plus 3 second-round picks. Will Jared McCain play for the Oklahoma City Thunder, or is he more of a reserve for this team?
I really believe in Jared McCain to be a real impactful player for them, to be honest. I liked him a lot his rookie year before he got injured, and I think he was really good. And I really think he's just going to figure it out. He had a really rough stretch with the 76ers this year when he was playing. He kind of figured it out a little bit towards the end. But I think overall, like, amongst a bunch of other good young players that they have, he'll be just like that, coming off the bench for them. And I think he can carve his way into like a 6th, 7th man role, honestly. So
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. I feel like this trade for Oklahoma is more insurance. Like it feels like if knock on wood, Lou Dort goes down or Shea, then you have that as a backup and you have a guy that can come in and you can score for you. The problem is and it's every Philly fan I've heard talk about McCain, is that he is like one of the worst defenders when he's on the court. Like just not good. Like it's like a Trae Young thing where, yeah, his offense is awesome. And McCain, when he's on, he's on. Like he can give you 20 on any given night. But he also might allow 20 points. So it's like, how much does that do? Again, I'm not the expert on Philly or Jared McCain for that matter. But based off everything I've heard from Philly fans, even the ones that liked him, it's like, yeah, he can score really well, and he's a really dynamic offensive player. But also, we couldn't defend Jerry West right now. Like, it's a really weird situation. Philly, I understand why they do it to you want to bring back guys like Quentin Grimes and stuff, and you have that flexibility now that you don't have to worry about the luxury tax. But again, like, where does this? It's such a weird position because you trade like a very talented young guy when I feel like you're trying to get young. Like, you're trying to get younger, and I get you get a first-round pick and 3 seconds out of it. But you have Edgecombe, you have Maxey, and those are the guys you're building around. To me, it makes more sense to just keep McCain for a little bit longer and just hold on to that. But again, the luxury tax, whatever. And I'm going to ask you this, and I don't know if you're going to have anything for it, but has there ever been another sensational rookie that you can think of that dropped off so quickly within 2 years of being drafted? Like, he got traded for basically nothing. Like, this Houston pick's going to be nothing.
Nothing. Like, I mean that I was want to touch on the Houston pick. Like, I mean, I guess you're getting a first round pick back, but at best, that first round pick's gonna be like the 20th pick, something like that, because Houston's not gonna be like out of the playoffs. But to touch on the historical player there, I had to do some research myself because I'm not very tapped into something like that. Because Derrick Rose is further in his career than the first two, sadly because of injury. But Michael Carter Williams is the guy that I have down here. You know, he was a very good player, averaged like 16 points in his rookie year, played well in his second year too, and then he just like span of injuries, getting traded around to the teams, lacking confidence, I guess, because of that. You know, he just kind of fell off, sadly.
That's a really good one. That's a great poll. I honestly didn't have anything. That's a really good call. And he was Philly, right? Like, he started with Philly.
Yeah, and then I don't know his timeline. I'll check it right now, but I mean that would be kind of ironic.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Uh,
thinking. Like, as soon as you mentioned that, I'm like, he did play for Philly because I remember he had like a triple double, I think, in his first game. Yeah. He played for Philly, right? Yeah.
yep.
And then what's his
Yeah.
timeline? Just name the teams.
Let me get this here. He played from 2013 and 2024. Played for Syracuse in college. Then he was drafted 11th to the 76ers. Rookie of the year, 16.7 points per game in his rookie year, along with 6 and 6 for rebounds and assists. Traded to Milwaukee in 2015. Played for the Bulls from 2016 to 2018. And then bounced around to teams like Houston, the Magic, and then he played for the G League team, Mexico City. And he retired October 2024.
I hope McCain doesn't have the same fate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really weird trade, and I'm not even sure when he'll play for Oklahoma City. It may not even be this year, to be honest. I think they may wait it out and just see what happens with him. All right, 2 more trades, two pretty interesting ones. First, the Warriors received Kristaps Porzingis, who's on an expiring contract. The Hawks received Jonathan Kuminga, who's on a team option, and then Buddy Hield, whose contract expires in 2028. We'll start with the Warriors. Carter, why did the Warriors make this trade?
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you one bit. That I was talking to my friends a little bit ago, and I was talking about players that I would never, ever, ever trade for if I was an NBA GM. Anthony Davis is surprisingly one of them. John Morant as well, and a big one is Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, yes, when he does play, he's a pretty good player, I would say, and he makes a very good amount of impact on your team, especially for a team like the Warriors who don't necessarily have a noticeable big on their team. But he never plays, and maybe he can get healthy and help this Warriors team out, help Steph Curry out, but I have no clue. I mean, yes, the one positive is you get off of a cancer of a player like Jonathan Kuminga. You sadly lose a guy like Buddy Hield here, which I don't necessarily like. He helps chemistry-wise with this team, but I think you could have gotten something different at least for Kuminga. I would have just gotten younger here and taken at least a little bit of a worse player than Porzingis, but at least this worse player might play more than him. So
Yeah, I think it was just kind of the Kuminga thing. Like, at the end of the day, I don't think either Atlanta or the Golden State really want Porzingis at this point. I don't know. I got to see his contract real quick. I was on his basketball reference page just to take a look at his numbers. But yeah, he's making $30.7 million right now, which is a lot. Like, that's a lot of money.
that's Porzingis, or
Yes, that's Porzingis.
Yeah, no.
We have the rare aspect that he's one of the guys that's played for both of our teams, so we've both seen him pretty much up close, essentially. What's so noticeable just looking at his stats, is that currently he's at a career low in rebounds at 5.1. Not sure if you knew how low that was.
That's low.
Again, he's missed a lot of games. He's only played 17 games. Last year he played 42. Year before 57. The year before 65. So it's progressively getting worse, right? Like it's getting worse, and the minutes per game are going down. Field goals going down. 3-pointers. The last time this 3-pointer was this bad was like 5 years ago. It's just a weird situation. If Porzingis is healthy, I don't know. I don't really even know what to expect. Again, it's just to get off the Kuminga thing. I think Golden State did this because they realized that a Giannis trade wasn't going to happen. I think there was a certain point where I don't know how it works, but I'm if I had to guess, it's they kept calling about Giannis till Milwaukee, and eventually Milwaukee said, "All right, we're not trading Giannis right now." And then they just had to scramble, get Kuminga off the team because they want to get out of that situation, and that's it. And they want to just move on from that. And I think that's why we're here. The Buddy Hield thing is a little concerning because I actually think he was good for the team. I think maybe just as interesting is why do you think the Hawks made this trade?
The Hawks are a team where they do have a lot of good wings, and we talked about that a little bit, kind of where he fits in with them. Your pronunciation of the names are nice too.
I can
But
never pronounce Ricochet
yeah, it's
until
it's
now.
definitely a tongue twister. I will say that. But overall, I mean, I don't like a guy like Porzingis. I think a guy like Kuminga could be good in a certain scenario. I don't know if this is that scenario, but it's worth a try. And I think we've seen him play at his best. Earlier this year he scored 20 points, 21 minutes, very efficient too. And I think that he can come off the bench and just help out. He's a very explosive player. So
Again, the Hawks are kind of loaded with talent right now. I mean, Jalen Johnson, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dyson Daniels, Ricochet. They have a ton of really talented. Those are all wings. Those are all twos or threes. And Kuminga can play the four, but again, like it's a really weird fit because again, Jalen Johnson and Ricochet kind of have been filling that 3 and the 4 together. Ricochet has been kind of a little hot and cold this year. It's not been as good as last year. It's kind of he's in his sophomore slump, so to speak. But it's such a weird move. I like the Buddy Hield. I like that they got Buddy Hield. I like they got a shooter who can come off the bench and hit 2 or 3 3-pointers a game. I think that's great. I think that's a really smart move. And you have him for a couple years, so it's not like you're in a rush to have to re-sign him. Do you think the Warriors are going to plan on re-signing Kristaps Porzingis?
I think if they're smart, no. Is he? Yeah, he's expiring, which is helpful. That's another look at that as a positive, but I don't think so. I think the Warriors are in such a weird spot where they're trying to help out their star player who's 35 years old right now,
At least.
and I mean there's just nothing around them. Their second best player is injured, which is Jimmy Butler, and he's old as is too. I just don't there's no promising young players on their team.
37. Sorry.
So yeah, I was way off, but
He turns
I mean,
38 in a month.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of awful. I'd rather be a GM of the Nets right now than the Warriors. At least you got some young talent there. But I mean, if we're looking at it, to be honest, their best young player on their team is Will Richards.
Yeah.
Podziemski isn't even
Good.
a very good player at
No.
all. A lot of people don't like him. But overall, I think the Warriors are in such a weird spot, and it's very hard for me to see them going up from here without completely blowing up whatever they have right now.
So I guess that's the final question of this trade is I'm going to ask you, and I'm kind of springing this on you, but should the Warriors trade Steph Curry, or should he just ride it out like Kobe or Garnett?
I think he's just gonna ride it out. I don't know how long his contract is, but there's no way he should be getting over, I don't know, 40 million a year, 30 million might be okay, but he's 38.
He's
Going to
making
be 38.
59.6 this year, 67 or 62.5 next year, and then that's
Yeah.
it.
That's painful to hear, kind of with how old he is and stuff like that. Steph Curry is still a very, very good player, but you do kind of got to look to your future as organization. But I also I really do agree in the fact of keeping him because you want to honor your star players, and he is like Warriors star guy. So I think you got to keep him. You just got to kind of subtly build young around him to prepare for post Steph Curry.
I think it's a little bit like the Damian Lillard thing. Obviously, different timelines and different like times of their careers, but it got to a point where I don't think anyone would have blamed Lillard for requesting a trade. And I think I wouldn't mind Curry like requesting a trade either. I mean, playing for a second team doesn't automatically invalidate your career. Like Michael Jordan played for the Wizards for 2 years. Like LeBron played for three different teams. Like it doesn't invalidate your career playing for multiple teams. And I think sometimes it gets to a point where in an NBA player's career, they just don't want to get up and move their family. Like Curry has a family, he has a business, like he has like all these brand deals and all that going on. And like where else, where are there better opportunities? Like if he moves to, this is not going to happen, but if he moves to Memphis, how is that better for his career going forward? Not saying Memphis is like going to happen at all because it won't. But
Mhm.
the only scenarios in which maybe it helps his personal life is like another California team because that's not that far, or like New York, and none of those are going to happen. So unless he requests a trade, I wouldn't trade him. Is kind of what I'm just my overall point, and I just explained why essentially. Any other thoughts on that the Curry and any of that trade, honestly, any part of the Warriors or Hawks?
I mean, honestly, I really do think that the Hawks should be playing better than they are right now. I don't know like what their current record is or where they're standing right now in the East, but I think at least as of next year they should be like a playoff team. And a lot of people thought they could be like a top three seed in the East right now. I doubt anybody thought that it would shake out like it is right now with Celtics playing as good as they are and vice and other things like that. But I think I don't know. I feel like the Hawks should be playing a lot better with their talent. So
Hawks are 26 and 27, by the way. I believe it's their 10th right now, ninth in the East. They are just below a 500 record, but it doesn't look pretty. All right, last trade, and then we'll kind of wrap this up. Pacers receive Ivica Zubac, however you pronounce it, a contract expires in 2028, and Kobe Brown, who's kind of just a throw-in, just for roster purposes. Clippers receive Isaiah Jackson, Benedict Mathurin, a 2026 first-round pick, a 2029 first-round pick, and a 2028 second-round pick. Let's start with the Clippers. Why do you think the Clippers made this trade?
I think the Clippers. I think they're like just solely focused on blowing it up, and they didn't really get off Kawhi right now. But Zubac has been in trade talks with a couple teams, Celtics as well. And they kind of got off him. They got some picks back. But I really like Benedict Mathurin here, honestly. I really do think that he could progress to be a good player in the NBA. And I think that, Zubac is going to help out the Pacers a lot. But, you know, I think LA is definitely just focused on the rebuild right now.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I mean, it's not that complicated. I feel like it's pretty straightforward what they're doing. Isaiah Jackson's not a player I'm totally super high on, but listen, you had to get a real big man. It's hard to get a really good big man. I think it's actually the toughest position to get because so many big men are either super injury prone or they try to play as like wings and they're not or they just can't rebound. Zubac does all three things that I just said well. He's healthy, he plays down low, and he doesn't try to be a wing. Like those are three really key aspects of being a big man in 2026. And Zubac has been as consistent as it gets. He's not a loud player. Like he's not going to make an Instagram post about how good he is. But if you watch a Clippers game, you're going to notice like how good he is in the pick and roll. He can offensive rebound. He's probably getting a couple of those a game. Great rim protector. Does everything you want from a big man, and is inexpensive. I think that's the best part is that he is not making a whole lot of money, which is great for the Pacers. It keeps your salaries low, especially when a guy like Halliburton is going to make so much, or he is making so much. Why do you think, I kind of explained it, but what does this do for the Pacers next year?
I think it's going to be very helpful for them. I think they're going to be a very good team again, like they were last year. And it was kind of tough losing a guy like Miles Turner in the offseason, but I think in a funny way now that they're replacing him with Zubats, it's a lot better for them because I like Zoo a lot more than I like Miles Turner, especially for this current roster. I think it's just gonna help him out. It's gonna give him a nice 1-2 punch along with Siakam as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Um, before we end this, out of Kawhi, Giannis, and John Morant, who are you most surprised did not get traded over the last week?
Say honestly, probably Ja. I mean, like the amount of trade talks that he was in, I thought he would have been traded much like sooner. Like the talks of him going to Miami were so hot earlier on, and they kind of simmered down. So I guess that kind of gives a little bit more like reasoning to why he didn't. But at the same time, like at all, like this whole season, I don't understand why he wasn't traded. Along with the fact that them trading Jaren Jackson Jr., which is kind of out of nowhere, like we didn't see that. But it is like adding wood to the fire of like the whole rebuild that John Morant is kind of started himself with, him being stubborn and not wanting to play and trying to get out of there. So that one just really surprises me. Like the whole Giannis thing, that's been going on for way too long. There's a chance that he may never be traded and might leave in free agency or something like that. But overall, I think that Ja, like he should have been traded out of those three guys. More of like who I thought could have been. So
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think we've been talking about this Giannis thing um, since I really started looking into the NBA, which is about the COVID times, like maybe a little before that. Uh, we've been talking about Giannis trade since before he won a championship, since after he won a championship. Like this is how long this saga's been going on, and there's been a lot of tension. And I'm surprised that all three didn't happen, to be honest, or at least one of the three. I think people were expecting, especially a Giannis trade, to happen at this point, just because of all the buildup on social media. That's what happens when you trust Bleacher Report or ESPN for your news instead of looking to actual insiders or people that know what they're talking about. But yeah, I think that's well said. Any remaining thoughts on the NBA going forward?
no, I just think that there's some pretty interesting like situations. The whole thing with Mike Conley ending up finding his way back to the Timberwolves. I don't know if
Yeah.
you heard about that.
Yes.
Also Jacques Landale, he was traded to the Jazz, and then I think they released him, or no, he was like rerouted to Atlanta,
Yeah, I
and
saw
then he
that.
played the Jazz that night, and he dropped 23 points on them. Just played a good game. So yeah, I mean, there's a couple just interesting little funny things like that overall. So
Also, Chris Paul. Was he on the Raptors? Is that right?
is he? He might have been cut. To be honest, I don't. I
Oh,
don't know.
I thought they picked him up or I don't know how that works, but let me just see this. That's a good. I read something. I didn't look too far into it.
Yeah, he
Clippers
is
traded,
on the Raptors, which
but
is kind of funny because they cut him. The Clippers did, but they still like had his rights, so they just traded him, which is kind of weird to me.
yeah, it looks like that he might
But he's
be
not.
a
Yeah,
buyout player though for
yeah,
a
he's not
team.
expected to report to Toronto, and he may be traded or get nah.
Okay.
He'll probably just be waived.
What
But
is this? This is from Raptors GM Bobby Webster on CP3. I don't know what he's going to do. Chris Paul is probably one of my favorite players ever. It's a weird thing to trade for him. He's at this point in his career. We'll waive him here at the okay. So they're going to waive him. This is a day ago. So yeah, all right. Well, that kind of solves that. That's literally from the GM, so that's kind of as obvious as it gets. Could be a buyout player if like a team wants to pick him up. I don't know who, but if a team would want to just have him, have him hang out in a warm weather situation, maybe. All right, Carter. Thanks a lot for joining us today.
All right, we're filming this on February 2nd, a couple days after I came back from my trip to California. This is something a little different. I'm kind of throwing in at the end of this podcast. I don't even know what podcast is going to be attached to. It could be a video I'm recording next week. It could be whatever. But, we're filming this now, and it's a little bit different. It's sort of a travel log about my time in Southern California. Uh, for a couple days, I went to California. I'm going to grab my water. It's off screen. I'm using metal bottles now. California really got to me. Yeah. So I went to California for a couple days to visit my friend Ephraim. Shout out to him. Shout out to him for letting me crash in his dorm. What a nice guy. I already shaved. it's something. I don't know why. I just decided to. I already regret it. Like I already feel terrible about it, but it's fine. Um, we traveled. I traveled to California, and it was my first time there. So I want to kind of recap the events. I did a lot in just a few days. I think I was there for like realistically, like in California, like 2.5 days, like 2 days, 2.5 days, 3 nights, basically. And then Saturday I came home. I was gonna film this yesterday on this yesterday was Sunday. Super jet lagged. Kind of want to be full of energy. I feel pretty good right now. So we're gonna talk about what happened. The biggest thing, and I've lived in New England my entire life. I know nothing really but New England and the East Coast. So be on the West Coast even for a couple days. The biggest things you recognize. Number one, people are a lot friendlier. Like just generally speaking, like people are much nicer. Um, like employees, yeah, that's going to happen. But I just feel like people are more open minded in California, especially like the Los Angeles area, which is kind of where I was staying, like Malibu and LA. People are a lot more open minded, which is a good thing. Like it's definitely a good thing and something I recognized. Take a sip of water. My mouth's gonna get dry. I haven't talked this long. I haven't done any podcasting in over a week, maybe 2 weeks. So get back in the flow. Yeah, so that was the one thing I noticed, especially is people were, and maybe because I was dressed better, maybe because it was sunny and it was beautiful weather. It was 70 and sunny every day, which is a great change of pace because we got hit with a lot of snow, man. If you live in Rhode Island over the past couple of weeks or live in New England at all, even elsewhere, you're familiar with the amount of snow we got. So this was a great change of pace. Like this, being in the sun, waking up, the sun is already gleaming on you, which for some is like annoying. I actually love that. I love that feeling. And walking out onto the patio or onto the patio essentially, and just ingesting the sun, basically just feeling it on your skin. It feels very like very personal way to describe it, but that's kind of what it felt like. Another thing I noticed, gas prices are insane. Like they warn you, like they tell you, like people when you go to California, people are like, watch out, it's gonna be expensive, and it definitely is at some points. Gas in LA was as high as like $6 a gallon, which I think in my area is like it's down to like 250 or $3, which is great. It's fantastic. Um, yeah, those are the things you notice. The weather's obviously great. Like that was as soon as you walk out, it's just like it hits you. It hits you like a bullet. Like it hits you like a train. How warm it is and the beautiful weather. And I went there in like jeans and a hoodie, and I was already sweating as soon as I got out there. But I did do some more interesting things than just enjoy the weather. One of the major things that I did was I went to SoFi Stadium and toured the actual stadium in which the Los Angeles Rams and the Los Angeles Chargers play at. It's a multi-billion-dollar sports complex. It not only hosts, again, the Rams and the Chargers, but concerts I held there. I think Bruno Mars is his big tour. One of the key venues that is being held at is SoFi. It's I think they described it as the most technologically advanced stadium that won't be surpassed for decades. And again, that they could be blowing smoke, whatever. But like they were, like the guy knew what he was talking about, the tour guide, and there's numbers. I don't want to list the numbers because it's not super interesting to hear a person like just say numbers at you. If I made a video about the overall scope, it'd be much more interesting. But seeing SoFi Stadium, we even got to go into some of the suites for like for celebrities and whatever. Crazy. Like it's nice. Like they tell you, like, listen, you can't even use your phone here. Like we don't even want you to take pictures. You just gotta look. Like I don't know why that is. It's not like some weird like eyes wide shut thing going on. It's like it's just crazy. It's like it's where business gets done. Like people go to the way it was described to me is that yes, there's a football game going on, but the business people are there to talk business in this huge venue in this grand setting of NFL football. I don't know why I said NFL football, obviously. Um, but yeah, it was crazy. And you get like a lanyard and you go to the gift shop after. Not a Rams or Chargers fan. I didn't buy anything from there, but it's cool. Like, I mean, it's as nice as you think it is. And as someone who's never been to LA, and I've only been to one NFL stadium, that being Gillette Stadium, it's like night and day, bro. Like you don't even understand it. And it's right next to the Kia Forum, I think, where the Lakers played at one point. Now it's being mostly hosted for UFC events. I think other events happen there. And then like across the street, this is in Inglewood, so this is like around the LA area, is Intuit Dome, which is where the Clippers play. I think that's the name of it. I might be wrong. Fact check me on that. But Intuit Dome is huge. It looks like the Death Star from Star Wars. Like you pull up and you're like, whoa. Like I've never seen anything that big in my life. Like, and maybe it's like, oh, you just went to LA and you're just, you're too excited about it. And maybe so. Maybe I'm gonna build up LA too much. And there's problems I had with the experience and the trip. But like the scope. And I didn't go into Intuit Dome. I wanted to go to a Clippers game. It just didn't happen to be playing the few days I was there, which unfortunate, but happens, right? And again, like, but SoFi, and there's like a right kind of in its area is like this YouTube, like it's like I don't know how to describe it. It's like another concert venue, sponsored by YouTube. I forget the name of it, but it's like a smaller concert venue that like the slightly smaller artists play at basically. They listed somebody, I can't remember the name of it now, but they named a pretty big artist. I think it was the Jonas Brothers, which I don't know if that's right, but that sounds kind of correct. Anyway, SoFi Stadium. One of the coolest parts about the whole trip was getting to go onto the field and playing catch with my friend Ethan. Like we just threw a football around for probably 20 to 30 minutes in SoFi Stadium. Like you're on a field where Super Bowls have been played, where absolute football legends have made their mark. And like again, maybe you think I'm being hyperbolic here. I don't think so. Like when you're there, it's just like there's just a certain like you get like a little tingly feeling if you're like a football fan and you're walking through the halls and we went to the Rams locker room, which was crazy because they still had all the stuff up, like all the names. So like seeing Matt Stafford's locker, Puka's locker, Jimmy Garoppolo, my guy, seeing his locker, pretty cool, like really cool stuff. But again, playing football, playing catch on the field was like a great experience, like genuinely unforgettable. And I ended it off by doing the little like the jog that quarterbacks do as they're running through the tunnel, like how like Matt Stafford would like jog because he's like 37. I did that and I did the little fist pump. Just you get one chance. Like I don't know when I'm ever gonna go to LA again. I don't know like what the chances are. Like in the next 2 years, it's like probably plus 800 of me going to LA again. If I had to guess, like if we're putting betting odds on it, yeah. But again, like crazy experience. Definitely recommend it. Like that's the number one thing I think that really stuck out was like if you have time, if you have like 2 hours, go take the tour of SoFi. It's genuinely a crazy experience. You get to play catch on the field, or like there's soccer balls, but I don't, whatever. I'm terrible at soccer. Me and Ethan were like kicking field goals. I couldn't even make a 5 yard field goal, like from the 5 yard line. I couldn't make. So I guess 10 yard field goal, whatever it is. I couldn't hit it. Like I just couldn't. So, you know, I'm the last person to want to play soccer. Anyway, we did other stuff. We went to USC, University of Southern California. Ooh, that campus, bro. Like that's how you know, like we're not in Kansas anymore, like, so to speak. USC's campus is, I mean, it feels like again, like perhaps I'm being hyperbolic because it's on the other side of the country. It's a place I've never been to, but it feels like California, at least LA and Malibu, feel like you're on a different planet, like a different country. Like it just does. And again, like maybe I'm not used to it, and maybe if I stayed there like 5 days more, I'd see the holes and I'd see the cracks kind of start to develop. But like it's kind of like exactly what you expect. Like if you're in the good part, like again, like you go to some of the other areas, not as nice, but happens. It's every city though, and traffic is not as bad. It's something I noticed. Traffic is not as bad as people say it is, at least. But again, USC, beautiful. Went to the Heritage Hall, which is a very cool place that basically encapsulates and honors all the great athletes that played at USC. You see like a bunch of trophies. You see the Heismans that have been given out throughout the years to some great players as like recent as Caleb Williams. Like genuinely, like the history of all the Heismans that have gone there. Really cool stuff. And they honor all the great athletes, all the men and women that have walked the halls and have become great athletes. And UCLA, we went to UCLA's campus, and they have a Hall of Fame, but I did not know this. It's only for students, which sucks because I feel like UCLA has a much more interesting history, just with like John Wooden and some of the basketball players that have gone there. Like some of the all-time greats have just like walked through those halls, like Lonzo Ball, like just just like absolute greats, right? Still went to UCLA's academy shop, like beautiful academy shops, both colleges. Um, I would say UCLA has an or USC, I'm sorry, has a nicer campus. Freudian slip. Uh, I think USC has the nicer campus overall. Like I think it was more walkable. I felt like there was everything was spaced out better. I feel like UCLA maybe it's just because the area and like how it's built, but I felt like USC was a little better spaced out. But again, both campuses are beautiful. Um, Definitely, honestly, I would recommend checking them out. Like people knew obvious. It was very obvious that I did not go there. I don't think I strike people as somebody that goes to a smart school like that. But everyone was really cool. Everyone was really polite and nice, and it was a cool experience. Pepperdine was the place I found myself at most, and I gotta say, man, Pepperdine feels like you're at like a hotel resort. Like being there on campus, and you're walking around, and the the halls or the like the dormitories feel like you're at a hotel. Like just walking through them, it feels like you're at like some nice resort. Dining hall food is great, like fantastic. I really only had breakfast, but from what I had, it was really good stuff. Um, what can you say? Like again, I went to a basketball game. They played, I think, San Diego. Went to over. I caught only the second half in overtime, mostly because just the traffic was bad that night coming out of the airport. Great game. It went to double overtime, or no, not double. It went to overtime, and some really good basketball being played. There was a play where I don't remember who the player was. I'm not familiar with either team's roster, but a rebound was caught and accidentally thrown out of bounds by the player that grabbed the rebound. That was pretty funny. Like that sticks out as like something that happened. Uh, More memorably though was the volleyball game I went to. My friend Ephraim's on the men's volleyball team at Pepperdine, and they played against Long Beach, which is like Long Beach is like they're like basically the Lakers, but for for men's volleyball. Like they are like so talented every year. They always have the best players. They're always competing for the title. Even if they don't win, you're nervous to play them when you see them on the schedule. I think they're number 2 right now. They're ranked. They did beat Pepperdine in 4 sets though. Like really competitive game. And two of the sets that Pepperdine lost were very close. Like genuinely very close sets. And seeing such talented athletes play like in front of you, both basketball and volleyball, is like a really cool experience. And like you can't like watching a game on television does not or on your laptop, whatever, does not like is not the same. Like they feel very different. Um, what I will say, what I did notice about the difference between basketball and volleyball, and again, I think it's agreed upon that NCAA basketball is the bigger sport. It's probably, other than football, probably the biggest sport in college. But the crowds were very different. Like Long Beach, first of all, like filled up with one. Like if you have a full side, each side, Pepperdine and Long Beach, that's crazy. Like it was nearly a full Phil gymnasium of Long Beach fans, of Pepperdine fans, of people just enjoying the sport. Like driving through Malibu, you look at the beach on your right, and it's maybe 18 to 24 volleyball nets kind of all next to each other. And you're like, that's the culture. Like that's the culture. Indoor and outdoor volleyball are huge in California. That's something that really stuck out. And like the crowds in at that game were crazy. Like some of the loudest crowds I've heard in a sporting event. I've been to Celtics games, I've been to Patriots games, I've been to Red Sox games, I've been to all the major sports. And still, I genuinely believe that like that Pepperdine versus Long Beach crowd, and maybe it was because kind of a rivalry. There's that little bit of rivalry there. Two of the 10 best teams in the country as far as volleyball goes. It could be that. It could be a million things. It was loud. Like you felt it. Like there was a gravitas to being there. Any point, a roar from either side of the gymnasium would occur at any point. And both teams are full of energy. And both teams are clearly coached very well. Like they were making really smart plays down the stretch into sets that got really close. I think at one point it was like one set ended 28-26. Like it got that close. Like it was, I think it was set 3 or 2. Just ridiculously close. Like none of these sets were decided by more than 6 or 7 points, probably. Like if I had to guess, I might be wrong on that. Take another sip of water. Its mouth's getting dry, a little bit. I don't know if it's the weather. I'm just not used to it yet. I don't know what it is, but we're here. We're doing this. Again, if you watched this far, thank you. We're not done yet. Still more that happened. I gotta say, I did a lot of cool stuff in California, and it's something a place I'd like to visit again. But genuinely going to the Academy Museum motion picture it was probably my favorite part. I've made 2 videos on my Blu-ray and my DVD collection. Quick aside, the DVD video got like a really random hate comment. Like somebody was mad about the video for some reason. I think it's deleted now, but it was basically like 3 paragraphs worth of text saying, "You don't know what you're talking about. Your collection is shit. You have no Altman. You have no like Hitchcock. No anything." And I'm like, bro, these aren't even really mine. I didn't buy any of these, to be honest. I'm looking at the shelf right now next to me. I don't think I bought a single one of these Blu-rays on my left. I don't know what that guy was talking about. He deleted the comment like pretty quickly after I saw it, which is weird because I didn't respond. It's just rule of thumb: don't respond to hate comments. Like I don't, not complicated. Just don't. Like I don't respond, especially if you're trying to be or you are a public figure of some sort. Like maybe don't respond to hate comments. I don't know. Just a thought. Anyway, yeah, the Academy Museum of Motion Picture. There's a lot. Like I trying to unpack it is tough. One thing that sticks out was the Jaws exhibit. Jaws is what I think one of the best movies of the last 60 years. Like just easily. Like I don't know if we're gonna argue about this, but a whole basically not really, but like it felt like a whole floor basically dedicated to just Jaws. A huge exhibit with how it's been referenced in future films, how shark movies have evolved since Jaws, because Jaws was kind of the first like great one, at least. I'm not sure if there was stuff before it. A lot of the promotional merchandise that came out in lieu of Jaws and as it was coming out, cultural impact of Jaws, which kind of ties into what I said before, but they had like a different part. There's a lot of clips of like 5 to 10 minute segments of Jaws just being replayed, and Ethan, who I was with, sat down and watched the "You're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat" scene from Jaws. It's like a 10-minute chunk of the movie. Great scene, by the way. Like just that whole sequence is fantastic. And I think he watched it twice because he didn't realize it was a loop. And it was only until they repeated the line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat, Roy Scheider." I think that's when he realized it was a loop because he just watched it again. And I was like, all right, he was enjoying it. Like he was locked in, phone down, just locked in, and I was happy. Like I felt like a proud father. Like I was like, the kid doesn't watch movies. He watched a scene of Jaws, and he's like, this rips. But not in those words, but like he was like, this is great. It is great. If you haven't seen Jaws, find the biggest screen you can and watch it. Anyway, what else? Yeah, again, like they had like the real shark, like one of the real. I don't know if it was the mechanical shark they used or like kind of like a replica, but they had it hanging, which I don't know how safe that really is. Having a huge shark hang from the 4th floor where it's basically just empty on the way down, but really cool to see up close and how realistic the shark looks even now. Like it still looks really good. Really cool stuff. Another thing that stuck out, they had a whole exhibit for like some of the great costume designs of history. Wizard of Oz, like again, maybe one of the greatest movies of the last 100 years. All the real costumes that like Dorothy, the Wicked Witch of the West, and like all that real costumes, the concept art of how they planned on making the costumes at first, and eventually how they evolved over time. All those things. And just seeing that like is kind of mesmerizing because like you think of movies as being so separate, like being such like a thing where it almost none of this feels real. Like you're watching it and you know these are real actors and actresses, and you know that real people made it, but you never really comprehend that this is all like real and somebody made all of this and there was no CGI until you see it in person. Like I couldn't really even wrap my head around it. And maybe again, maybe that's hyperbolic to use that word again. I hate repeating myself, but just to say that again, it's a little like takes you. It's like an out of body experience is the best way I can put it. And they had a ton of that. Like a lot of movies I haven't even seen personally. Movies from the 40s, 50s, 60s, even in the 70s, with fantastic costume design that I haven't even gotten to see. Barbie from 2023, Greta Gerwig's Barbie had a big presence there, not only in the costume design area, but it had its own kind of like corner of an exhibit. It was a big corner, like to be clear. And again, like to see that all in person, like again to repeat myself, an out of body experience. Like it feels wild because I've seen Barbie a couple times, I've seen Wizard of Oz a couple times, and seeing all these things, and even movies I haven't seen yet, just like whoa, like you're still like I'm still processing it. And there's another exhibit dedicated to some of the great like props and like more costume design, but a lot of props from Star Wars, from Donnie Darko, from Marvel, from I think a little bit of DC. I don't really remember. I remember a lot of Marvel stuff like Spider-Man's costume, like from the Raimi trilogy. Uh, Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. I think that's how you pronounce it. I never never really understood how to pronounce it fully. Either way, Iron Man, one of Iron Man's outfits or suits, whatever, like crazy stuff. The real C-3PO that they used, the real costume of C-3PO that they used in the original trilogy was there. Like it's like I didn't even believe it until I really until I Googled it, which is like you're not going to trust the museum, but you're going to trust Google. Not like my best call, but still, like being there and like what? Another sip of water. I'm getting hyped. I'm getting fired up right now, man. I really am. It's fantastic. It's really fun to talk about this stuff. Yeah, and there was just so much more to it. A whole room dedicated to like the cyberpunk, like the Terminator, Blade Runner era, where things like range from I think like Terminator in '81 to like the Matrix, and then into like Ex Machina, which I think is like 2010. Like that era of futuristic, like then that cyberpunk feeling, this dystopian feeling of film that we've seen with a big like clip show kind of about the best moments from each of those movies was really interesting and really unique to see. And again, seeing a lot of those props in person, like fascinating stuff. Reading about the history, Bong Joon-ho had an exhibit dedicated to him and like memories of a murder and Parasite and all these great things. And another cool one, and this is the last one that really sticks out so much, is the Oscars room. Like an exhibit of basically the history of the Oscars and what major thing happened at each throughout the years. I'll be real, like Oscars don't mean everything to me. They're fun to discuss. I think people get too upset about awards that are made to simply just honor people that make movies, essentially, which is important, but at the same time, it's like it shouldn't be the end all be all. And someone winning an Oscar when you didn't want them to shouldn't be something that you really get upset about. It's an award that's probably mostly rigged anyway, and it seems like seemingly unfair to certain people. And if you have a bigger budget, you're just going to get the nod before a smaller, better independent film. Not to get sidetracked or get on my soapbox, but just saying, like, relax on like getting upset about these award shows, whatever. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, the Oscar room, really cool. Showing clips of some of the best speeches that we've seen throughout the years. I think I walked in around the Black Panther time, so I think that was 2018 or 2019. Just seeing all the people that worked on Black Panther accept awards was very cool. And then there's a little separate room that's like probably, I don't know how to even describe it, but a little separate closed off area that shows behind glass the real Oscars. I assume they're the real Oscars anyway. Like Steven Spielberg's Oscar for Schindler's List was one that stuck out, which is very cool to see. A bunch of acting ones, and they had the labels on them and all that. Like really cool, like really unique, and you can't see that anywhere else. Like you can't go to New York's Museum of Motion Picture. I've been. Very cool place in its own right, but it's very different. Like they're two very separate things. But trust me, like if you have an opportunity to go, it's not that expensive either. They often do screenings. I know right now, if you're planning on going to LA anytime soon or that area, they're doing screenings of a bunch of the Oscar nominated films. Some other films they always do screenings of. I think one of the Star Wars is getting one of the. I don't even really know which Star Wars it is, but one of the Star Wars films is getting a screening there. When I went, they had a discussion about Jaws. Like they gave a presentation or something like that. I didn't see it because we have a million things to do when you're in LA. And yeah, that was my time at that. And I want to end off this travel log with a couple minor things. I did if you follow me on TikTok, which you should, I think it's Connor Lewis 77 or something like that. I did. I rated the food that I ate. And believe it or not, it wasn't a lot, but it was mostly fast food, which is not good. Like I'm swearing off fast food for at least 3 weeks now. Like it was a lot of very greasy, bad for you food. Things that stuck out. In-N-Out, delicious, like fantastic, great price, great service, delicious food. It's really like the Michael Jordan of stuff, of fast food, like of burgers at least. Like just does everything well. People try to poke holes in it, but again, its greatness still sustains. Um, just all around great. I almost went back for like another go, but I want to try something else. Jack in the Box is pretty good. Like good pricing overall for what it is, which is kind of like a Wendy's type joint. Not bad, like not bad at all. I had Carl's Jr., which I'll give them leeway because I got it in an airport, but the prices were kind of out of control, and I was starving, so I was willing to pay the probably $17 for for Carl's Jr., which is crazy that I spent that much in hindsight, but it was probably around that, maybe a little less, probably about 17 though. Yeah. Beyond that, Chipotle, bro. When I tell you that they were rationing, they were hiding the white rice in the back, where unless you asked for it, it was not visible to you. There was barely any chicken. The queso looked old, and I'm not trying to call out anybody. I'm just making an observation. Like that Chipotle got to get stuff together. Got to get your shit together, guys. I don't know what was going on. It was not even that late. It was like probably 8 o'clock, maybe a little earlier than that. Even not good. Like I was really mad. And the wooden fork, I couldn't believe it. Like, and maybe someone smart can explain this to me. Everything is plastic. You go into a grocery store, everything's plastic. But why are we sacrificing forks? I don't even care if you want to get like lower plastic. That's fine. Like do that. That's great. But again, like most of the stuff that we get from like a grocery store or whatever is plastic. You're cutting down in plastic in the wrong spots, I think. Like straws, I don't even use straws, so I don't care about that. Forks, dude, no, don't touch the forks. Leave the forks and spoons and knives alone. It just doesn't work, and it's very weird to try to use a fork. And maybe again, part of it's probably the food, like not great, but the other part of it, wooden forks, no. Like that was luckily I only had to do that the one time. But bro, we got to figure something out. I don't know how else to get around it. I don't know if you got to do reusable forks or something now. I'm not doing wooden forks, and I'm gonna figure that out next time if I ever go back, which might not be for a long time. Got like McDonald's is fine. I haven't had McDonald's breakfast in a while. It's pretty good. Like I won't even lie. Like I don't know, it's not bad. Again, it was mostly fast food, which I know is bad. I don't know. No one needs to tell me that it's not good for me. But being on a plane, I'm gonna tell this story now, and I feel bad because the person who I don't think they'll ever see this, but it's just like I feel bad for kind of outing a person, even though I don't know them. All right, so my flight, I had a connecting flight, LA to Chicago on the way back. I don't know how it happened, but somehow I wound up with a window seat, not an aisle. I did not pay for extra legroom. Big mistake. Never making that mistake again. I was very cramped. It was very very inconvenient to sit all the way in the back, basically in the back corner of the plane, and be at a window and have virtually no legroom because someone was in between me. And then there's a girl on the aisle seat who in fairness was 6'1", unironically was 6'1", and this was a fully booked flight. Like there was no way around this of me getting that aisle seat, but I had to ask for the one time, just in case. And I was very polite, and I asked for the aisle seat, and I'm like, you gotta understand my situation. I'm 6'7". I don't know how I ended up in this scenario. Every other flight I was on, there and back, I was in the aisle, which isn't even really that much more comfortable. But it's just like this. Listen, this is probably TMI, but I get up a lot, whether to use the bathroom or just I walk around. I can't sit down on a plane for 5 hours, in which I had to on the Chicago flight, by the way. And so I asked very politely if I could maybe switch seats. She said no. But again, understand my situation. Like what we could have done, we could have figured something out. We could have had the guy in the middle who was a short dude, who was probably 5'8", sit on the window, you sit in the middle, and I sit on the aisle. It's not that hard. Nothing changes. Nothing happens. And I can't believe she said no. And like she was polite. Like it wasn't like she was rude about it. But like, bro. Again, I get it, you're 6'1". That's tough. Like for a girl, that's not common. I can understand how that's tough. Bro. How often do you know a 6'7" person? Come on. Like, and maybe like this is like totally a first world problem. And like that, if this was the worst part of my trip, like this in the wooded forest, then I had a pretty damn good time. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but as people, we need to make exceptions for tall people. We need to make these exceptions, guys. I'm speaking for all the tall people out there, my tall brothers and sisters. And she is a tall sister, but my point stands. Like, we got to figure this out, guys. And, shame on me. Shame on me for getting a window seat. Bad idea. Don't know how it happened. I swear I got an aisle. I swear to God, I got an aisle. Somehow I ended up with a window. They're united. Probably shouldn't name drop, but whatever. They're out to get me. No, anyway. The good news was the connecting flight back to Providence, Rhode Island, or Warwick, whatever. I hate that they call it, I hate that they call it Providence, because Providence and Warwick are very different places. If you've been to either, or if you've been to both, they're so different. They could not be more distinct. Like one is like, basically you can go to the beach in Warwick. You cannot go to the beach in that's a totally separate argument that I got to make a whole video about and why that's stupid. Anyway, good news is on the flight back that was mostly empty. I was so hungry that I was willing to pay the $5 for the can of Pringles, and the guy's machine for the credit cards was not working, so I got it for free, baby. And so that made up for the bad first flight, for the rough first flight. And I learned that I cannot watch movies on airplanes as much as I tried. Maybe it was that I was uncomfortable. Maybe it was something else. I watched Uncle Buck, one 90-minute movie over the course of my first 2 flights from Providence, Chicago to LA. I just can't do it, man. And I didn't buy Wi-Fi, so I was sitting like an idiot for a good amount of time listening to a podcast I luckily saved on my phone. Buy the Wi-Fi, bro. Like, I hate to say it. Like, I hate to give in to that corporate America, but you gotta buy it. Like, like you gotta. I wish I did. In hindsight. Anyway, I want to wrap this up. I want to thank you all for listening to me talk for like half an hour about my trip to LA. That most people probably are like, "What is this guy talking about?" More videos coming. My new plan with the podcast, and I don't know, I'll try not to say this at the beginning because I'm filming this way before I do anything else, is my new goal is like 1 episode a week with multiple segments, like a me talking to the camera thing, maybe like an interview, maybe a guest comes on and we talk sports or movies, whatever. This is the new like format. And again, this is the first time that I'm calling it the Connor Lewis podcast. We're moving away from the Project Podcast title. I'm going to probably repeat this at the beginning anyway, but I want to reiterate here just in case I forget to do that. Like, we're moving away from the Project Podcast thing. We're moving towards me being, because I am the brand. Not to sound like that, but like I'm trying to build my own brand. Who hosts the Project Podcast? I don't know. Oh, who hosts the Connor Lewis podcast? Oh, Connor Lewis. Genius. Like, plan to take over the world in 2026 is happening now, guys. You're either with me or you're not. This should get cut out. I don't know why I'm going to even say this, but anyway, thank you all very much for listening. I've been your host, Connor Lewis, signing off.